Yo, what is up guys, it Ghost here, welcome back to the channel, and as you can tell from the title, in this video, we're going to be talking about some rather questionable stealth changes that the Battlefield studios, for whatever reason, have decided to put in the game. But there's also some good news here as well. Battlefield is getting competitive with its own $1 million competition happening on the 10th, I believe it is, of December. A lot of ex-DICE devs are also returning to the studios, sparking a newfound optimism, I suppose you could say, around the franchise. And Battlefield 6 had the biggest launch month in terms of revenue of any game in the last 3 years. As always guys, if you do enjoy the content on the channel, hit the sub button, hit the like button to stay up to date with everything Battlefield 6. And without further ado, let's just jump straight in here. So first off here, it probably comes as no surprise that when Battlefield 6 went on sale, well, it did pretty well. Coming out of Matt Piscatella here over on Blue Sky Social, and if you're wondering who this guy is, because I honestly had no clue, he is Senior Director and Video Game Industry Thought Leader at Circana, formerly of Activision and Warner Brothers Games. I helped get one of your favorite games greenlit, so it seems to be some sort of a big shot in the gaming industry, and this is what he had to say about Battlefield 6. He said the game is currently the best-selling game of 2025 on both the Xbox and the PC aggregated storefront charts, while ranking second year-to-date on PlayStation, only behind NBA 2026. Battlefield 6 produced the highest single-month US physical and digital full game track dollar sales total in 3 years. The last title to generate a larger full game track dollar sales total in a single month was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in 2022. And this is honestly the most surprising one and impressive one to me, and that is that Battlefield 6 launched as the best-selling game in franchise history, with its October 2025 volume surpassing the lifetime sales total of the previous record holder, Battlefield 1. So even though the game has only been out for like a little over a month, it's already surpassed the total amount of sales of Battlefield 1. That is insane to me. Now, it seems like no coincidence then that a lot of ex-DICE developers are now deciding to return to the studio, presumably after having left, with the whole drama and debacle and failure, really, that was Battlefield 5 and, of course, Battlefield 2042. So Daniel Cameron, he is an environment artist at EA DICE, and he posted this over on Twitter, saying, "Seeing quite an influx of ex-DICers coming back to DICE. Every week I bump into someone new, so awesome to see," and I really agree. I think the studio lost a lot of great talent when, those couple of games came out there, and they could really see that EA were just pulling too many strings and basically forcing them into doing things they didn't really want to do. Sounds like EA this time around, with Vince Zampella at the helm, have learnt their lesson, and they're actually gonna make some good games, so that is pretty awesome. And what are they going to do then with all that revenue that they've generated from Battlefield 6 sales? Well, it seems like part of it is that they're going to start making Battlefield more competitive. Now, this is only for RedSec, so it's only for the Battle Royale at the moment, which is a bit of a shame for me because I'm not really a massive BR fan, but they are starting off here with a $1 million tournament starting on December the 10th. And these are going to be split up into 2 different tournaments, so there's going to be an invitational one called the Elite Tournament, and then there's going to be an Open Series that I think pretty much anybody can get into. And they say both the Elite and Open Series are our first steps into an official competitive experience for Battlefield, and we plan on collaborating with the community to develop future competitions in our core multiplayer modes. So this is just the beginning in RedSec. Apparently, they're also going to start putting it in like the regular game, but I would assume it's going to be for some of those smaller player size game modes, more tactical modes like Strike Point and Sabotage. So if you're hoping to see like 64-player Conquest, it's probably not that likely, if I'm being honest. So they say the Elite Series is a weekly series of competitive cash cups split across 3 regions: the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific, and features over $1 million in prize money during its first season from December the 10th to January the 18th. For this inaugural RedSec Elite Series, we're inviting 50 team captains from each region to handpick their dream squad of 4. These 600 total competitors not only represent the best Battlefield players in our community, but also the top FPS talent in the world. And I've already seen plenty of content creators posting over on X saying, "Hey, I've been selected for this, so I'm going to handpick a team." Some of them have already found teams, others are looking for members, so if some of you out there are really good at RedSec and you want to sign up to one of these squads and maybe try and win yourself sell some cash, then you might want to make yourself known over on X. And they continue here saying, in creating the Elite and Open series, we recognize the Battlefield community's existing grassroots efforts for competitive play, from tightly coordinated 4 vs 4 and 8 vs 8 formats to massive 32v32 showdowns across iconic modes like Conquest and Rush. Oh, well, who knows, maybe we are getting Conquest, guys. We understand that the community needs proper tools to drive competitive innovation, including features like spectator mode and custom lobbies, and we are excited to work with the community to test and iterate on a variety of formats to find what works best for the Battlefield 6 multiplayer competitive experiences. So if I had to guess, I think some of those features will be coming to Battlefield Labs whenever they decide to restart that initiative again. So I think this is only going to do good things for the franchise. It's going to put Battlefield on the map. Of course, competitive has existed for Battlefield for years and years and years. It's maybe not been that big, but now to actually see EA backing this and putting up $1 million for a competition up front is pretty impressive. Now, with that said, it's time to shift our focus to some things that are maybe not quite as impressive, at least not in my opinion. Now, some of you may recall a few weeks ago, DICE tried to nerf the Conquest playtime by reducing the amount of tickets that you needed to win a match, to which the community said, what the hell are you doing, DICE? We want longer Conquest matches, we don't want them to be reduced, and then they rolled that change back, right? And it's important you understand this, that they tried to push that forward, and then they rolled it back when they received negative criticism. Now, what you may not have realized yet is in the recent update with the Eastwood map and everything, they actually changed the ticket bleed time in Conquest from around 5 seconds to 2 to 3 seconds in order to facilitate shorter matches. So what that means is that if you're holding a flag, you reduce the enemy's tickets by, well, however many flags you're holding, and it would take around 5 seconds for each ticket to be deducted from their score. But now it only takes around 2 or 3 seconds, so they've basically nerfed the overall time of Conquest, depending on how many flags you have, of course, by around 50%. And this was not in the patch notes. They basically snuck it in there, and I can only assume the reason they did that is because they knew that people would react negatively to that, just like they did with the previous Conquest change that I mentioned. Now, after this change took place and people started to realize that this was a thing, the Battlefield Communications account on X posted this, and they say, today we're rolling out an update to Conquest that increases the ticket count on all maps from 1,000 to 1,200. This change is now live across all platforms and will apply to your next Conquest match. Since launch, we've been closely reviewing your feedback on Conquest and looking at win rates, balance, the impact of objective play, and more. In update 1.1.2, we introduced adjustments, as they call them, to the underlying rule set designed to further emphasize objective play, ensuring that holding more objectives than the enemy team has meaningful impact. So you can tell in that paragraph, they really went out of their way to not say, we changed the ticket bleed time, which is what they did. Instead, they said, we introduced adjustments to the underlying rule set. Now, they continue here saying those changes have had a positive effect, and we are already seeing more comeback victories from teams that start out on the back foot. However, they also led to matches ending sooner than intended. To address this, we are increasing the overall ticket count to help maintain match length while preserving the improved focus on objective play. We believe that focusing on objective play is deep in the DNA of Battlefield, and now more than ever, playing the objective and working with your squad and being a cohesive team overall will secure your team the victory. Now, I don't want to come across as like some conspiracy theorist or something here, guys, because this generally sounds good, right? They're making it more impactful when you have more flags than the enemy team, and they're also increasing the ticket count to adjust for the shorter time of Conquest matches. But based on some rough calculations, given how much they've slashed the ticket bleed speed at, which is about 50%, and then the relatively small increase in tickets from 1,000 to 1,200, that actually means that games will still be shorter even after the change by around like 25 or 30%. Now, maybe I'm just reading too much into this, but I just find it weird that they left this out of the patch notes almost on purpose. They seem to leave things out of the patch notes that they know aren't going to go over particularly well with the community, and then they just wait and see if anybody notices it. And let's not forget, we already know that they would like to reduce the playtime in Conquest because they've already tried nerfing the overall tickets, and the only reason they felt they had to roll that back is because we kicked up such a fuss about it. And I don't know about you, but I never really had a problem with Conquest at all. I've not seen a single person critiquing Conquest saying, oh, like it takes too long or something like that, we need shorter rounds. No, I've not seen anything about that, but still they felt the need to do these changes. So that tells me they've probably got some data on their end that is telling them that it will be better this way, not necessarily because of gameplay, but maybe because of player retention, which, let's face it, we all know it's no secret that's what these games are about these days. That's the reason behind a lot of these changes. Players don't generally like it. And that's not the only change that they snuck in there. Some of you may have realized that if you play Engineer with the anti-armor training path, you now spawn in with 5 RPGs or 5 Stingers instead of 3. And the way it worked before is you spawned in with 3, but you could hold a maximum of 5 if you went to one of the resupply boxes from a support player, but you still only spawned with 3. Now you just spawn in with 5. And I personally think this is just too much of a buff for the Engineer class. Like, already RPGs are incredibly powerful, very easy to use. They have lightning fast travel times. In fact, any of the projectile weapons like this, tow missiles, stuff like that, are so easy to use in Battlefield 6 and shoot down aircraft with. And so I think it really just is totally unnecessary. It's not playing into the synergistic abilities of the support class, right? You don't need somebody now to throw down ammunition for you. You can just respawn if you wanted and get yourself 5 new RPGs if you've burned through all of them. And I know some people will say, oh, well, repairing is really, really powerful in this game. And that's absolutely true. You know, you'll see in this clip in the background here, I'm playing Breakthrough. I've got 3 engineers repairing me behind the tank there. Also receiving a lot of fire from the front, but it's just not enough to break my tank. But that's also because nobody is actually making an effort to take out the problem, which is the engineers behind the tank that are repairing. They need to flank around, you know, they need to kill those engineers. They need to try and hit the tank from the side with the RPG or the back. You can already 2-shot tanks in this game from behind and 3-shot them from the side. The damage model in general is the same as it's always been through all the Battlefield games, right? Battlefield 2042, Battlefield 4, it takes around the same amount of RPGs to take down a tank. But they've just given you way, way more than we've ever had in Battlefield's history. Again, they did not put this in the patch notes, presumably because they knew some people would be unhappy with it. But once people started to figure it out and started again to kick up a fuss online about it, they now put this out on Battlefield comms saying, Engineer Gadget Adjustment, in update 1.1.2 we adjusted the number of gadgets available for Assault and Engineer. Due to an error, the engineer changes were not reflected in the update notes. We wanted to confirm that the current numbers in-game are correct, and you will now spawn with the maximum rocket capacity when using the anti-armor training path. Apologies for any confusion caused by this. So at least that clears things up. I think a lot of people were thinking, is this an unintended bug since it wasn't in the patch notes? No, it's definitely intended. Personally, I think it's the wrong move. You know, 2 RPGs to kill a tank seems like pretty good for me. Vehicles in Battlefield 6 are already in just like a really poor state. And at the moment, for me, it basically feels like ground vehicles, but also especially air vehicles, are just sort of there as spectacles, as eye candy, to fly overhead and make a lot of noise and make, whoa, like, here, listen to that jet, man, and then it blows up and there are particle effects raining down on the battlefield. It feels like that's more what they've gone for with this game. They don't actually care about people playing in the vehicles as much, but this is supposed to be a combined arms game, infantry and vehicles together, and right now it's basically just infantry having fun blowing up vehicles. At least that's what it feels like to me. Obviously, I'm going to be a bit biased because I like playing in vehicles as well as infantry, so I do like to see a bit of a balance there. But then I'm sure a lot of people who only play infantry, they're also biased on the other way, right? Because they don't play in vehicles and they only get shot with them, and that's annoying to them. And so anything that results in being able to take out more vehicles easier is going to get a thumbs up from them. But regardless, let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed today's video or you found it informative or enjoyable or just whatever really, leave a like. It's massively appreciated by me, but even more so by Lopper. And if you don't know who Lopper is, then you haven't been watching the channel for long enough. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with Battlefield 6, and I'll see you all in the next video.